All stations, this is control. Do you read? We're starting in 3, 2, 1. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Assaf Luxembourg. This is called Don't Miss Your Corona Crisis Opportunity. And the cornerstone of this entire session, which is supposed to be as much Q&A as possible, is basically what I am going to share right here, which is this blog post. So instead of me just going and preaching, and then I'll let you ask questions, wouldn't it be great if I will just put the punchline in the middle so that you could then ask a question and I'll come back to the center, and then you ask a question and I come back to the center. You ask a question, I come back to the center. You ask a question, I come back to the center. So it's this sun model and not just me going through a presentation, because for those of you who know me, most of my stuff is already out there. It's free, use it. The idea here is to translate what is already online to add value to you. So that's the whole context of this talk. So I'm gonna share my screen back and we'll go right here. Great. So I'm actually gonna start with the end because these are very bizarre times. But in a way, and you'll see this as I go through what I'm about to say, I think when it comes to career, work, job, business, what Corona is basically doing is advancing the inevitable maybe. And much of what I want to talk about is super relevant even without Corona crisis. And all Corona crisis is doing is pushing that to be faster and right now for many of us. So that's about pushing the inevitable forward. Which inevitable? And that's what I want to share with really quickly. If you go up the post, so it begins with me saying that even before this Corona crisis, due to the nature of my work and the message that I'm trying to promote, and that's what I'm going to talk about now, the world of work changed a lot. So again, 2-3 minutes, and then I want to go Q&A. But this is what I want to get to. So now you're supposed to see my screen. Everybody's seeing my screen, I hope. So for those of you who are familiar with my presentation about hacking the new world of work, there's more than one version of it online, so you can go and check it out, which is this presentation. I'm going to cut through everything and just go to the punchline, because only the punchline matters here. And again, you read the post, so I want to be very tachlis and dugri and bottom line. So what is the punchline? I believe that in today's world of work, the way that I see that works better in order to advance your careers is to think as if you are a business unit, meaning as if you are the owner and CEO of You Incorporated. And again, I'm running fast, but this is really all online. The more you think as if you run your own business, the faster I believe you will be able to grasp opportunities for your career. This was true way before Corona crisis. It's a message that I've been pushing out for like 3 years already. I won't go into the entire theory here. Again, it's all online. But if you actually run a business, or you're the CEO of a business and the owner of a business, then you have to think like a business. When you're an employee, you can sometimes afford yourself not to think like a business. In the old world of work, you should not have thought like a business. Today, even if you're an employee and it's not your business, you have to think like a business. And as Masa participants, as interns, as former interns who made Aliyah and want to get a job here, the more you think as if I am the CEO and owner of Alexander Incorporated, of Stan Incorporated, of Jennifer Incorporated, the more you think like that, the better you will be able to get a job, sales, and get promoted at work, meaning increase sales. So I'm speaking in business language. So the message here is we're all business units, we're all entrepreneurs, even if we're our employees. And if you are the CEO of You Incorporated, then your boss is your customer. This is the other punchline. The more you manage your boss as if it's the customer and not, dear boss, what do you need me to do today? Check, 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 and go home, the faster and better you could promote. So I have an entire theory that is all about pushing this idea of thinking like a business unit. You can see the full 90-minute presentation on YouTube. You can see shorter versions on YouTube and so on and so forth. The main idea is this. When you immigrate to a new country, whether it's for a short term like an internship or long term if you want to stay here, and it's true way beyond Israel, immigration is hard enough. But still, we live in a time where people are looking for a career path. It used to be that your job was your career, so you get the job, you work in the job. That graph is irrelevant anymore. Today, it's a big spaghetti. People change jobs every 2 years and everything you know already. Again, the full presentation is online. The punchline is a lot of people are looking for a job that will help them determine who they can and want to be in the future. And I believe this is a fata morgana. You need to take control of where you want to be in the future. You need to communicate it to your boss, your customer, and you need to take the control on your career, even if you're an employee. So this is an entire thesis with implications and practical implications. It's all online. You can see the entire talk. You can also read a lot of the implications in the same blog where I shared that post. So this is all out there. All I wanted to do is put it on the table because this is the language I'm speaking at. As we'll go into questions right now, you'll ask questions and I'll reply from this position, thinking about you as a business. So now let me just see messages in the chat. Yes, I can share the presentation. Go to assafluxembourg.com/hacking the new world of work. And it's there. It's simple as that. So that's the business unit manifesto, if you want to call it that way. Now, this is where Corona comes in. Because a lot of people, and I've been active with Masa for a while, a lot of people are trying to get a job after the internship here in Israel, in the US, wherever you want to be. And I think getting a job is not always the right language to think with. And before I go into the Q&A, the last thing I want to say, which is really like bad news. So this is, I want to put the bad side on the table because I think it's the only way to connect to the good side. And the bad news are that I think the big Corona crisis in terms of our careers in the economy all over the world, the big crisis didn't even start yet. It will only start once the virus crisis will be over. A lot of people right now around you in your home countries and here too are on unpaid leave. And a lot of people think, and this is my opinion, I'm an economist, but still my opinion. I think a lot of people are kind of on a pause mode, like, you press pause on the remote control. And they believe that once things will go back to normal, they will go back to their jobs. And maybe even you think in that reality, meaning people right now are in a crisis mode, they'll go back to their jobs, I need to get a job. What I think is going to happen is that a lot of people, once this virus crisis will be over, the economic crisis will start. Because a lot of people will not get their job back. They're going to get the letter. And they think in a language of jobs, so they expect to get their job back. My job responsibility, tasks I still have to do, etc. But they need to think in business terms, meaning my boss, my customer, the one who pays for my work, they need to start generating sales, bring customers, bring early revenues, so they could pay me in order to work for them. That's going to take time. And I think a lot of people are going to get disappointed once they understand that the coronavirus crisis is over, but their jobs are gone as well. And that's exactly where your opportunity comes in. The minute you realize that this is going to take a lot of time to recover, and nothing good will happen in the very short term while we're still in crisis mode, the better you can use this magic time, this unique time, to really invest in your long-term goals. And that's what the post was trying to communicate. And I wanted to share practical insights on how to do that. So many of you read the post, so I don't want to go through the post. For those of you who haven't read the post, what I will do is just this. I speak mainly about this, which is a huge thing. Don't make long-term strategic decisions based on short-term circumstances. We're going to talk about that a little bit through your questions. Start investing in what you want to happen the day after Corona, meaning 6 months from now, next year, because now you have time to really navigate the ship towards that. Understand where you are unique and valuable, meaning the world doesn't care about what you want, but there are places where you could really be needed. And once you connect what you want with where you could be needed and useful, then magic happens. Doing it in the right way, meaning building relationships. Some people here, they know a thing or two about building relationships more than me, so they can share as well. And even if you're going to go back to your old job, the office environment will be different. The more you think the same way like your boss thinks about running the business, the better you could use the day after Corona in the office as you get your job back to get promoted faster, to acquire more in the office environment and promote your career. So for those of you who haven't read the post or joined later, this is the cornerstone of this entire talk. I have 4:15. I'm basically done. So I want to start taking questions. Whoever wants to go first. And I'll be happy to use more content and actual practical advice through your questions, because I have more to contribute. Yes, Alex.
So this couldn't have come at a better time, because right before this, I had a phone call, like a networking call with somebody that I was referred to. And, I thought I would approach this as sort of a spitball, like gather ideas. And his response to me was, you need to be more specific about what you want. In other words, in Israel, he says, the next time you call me, come to me with 5 or 6 organizations here that you're interested in working for, and I'll see who I can put you in contact with. Do you agree with that approach? What do you have to say about this thing? And while I'm at it here, timing-wise, are we jumping the gun too soon? Should we get the ball rolling now? Should we plant ideas in people's heads? I mean, things are so uncertain, right? So if you can address those two things,
yes,
really appreciate it.
So a quick thing I want to add, and then I want to ask something in order to give my full answer. So the first thing I want to add before I give my full answer, and you know what, let me just bring this here. If you go, again, everything is on the block, really. So the reason I want to get a lot of questions and answers done fast is because I really want to give like quick answers and send you to the rest of the post, because these are things that I talk about. So the first thing I want to say is, of course, there are cultural variables here. What I mean by that is, and I hope you can see my screen here, one post that I wrote is called Olim's Value in Mitigating Culture. So of course, the culture in Israel is very different than the culture in LA, which is where you're from, right?
Biyuk.
Ahla. So in Israel, yes, people want to be very oriented towards action items and results more than in other places like in the US. So in that post, you can find a lot of more on that cultural difference for the rest of you. Now for your question, I couldn't agree more. Thinking like a business says the following thing. You're the CEO of Alex Incorporated. So maybe you're on an internship right now, which is about to end, or maybe just began. So that's a short term for your business, right?
Correct.
Because no matter what you do, it's limited in time. Now, whatever you want to happen in the next year, 2, 3, is your midterm goal. That's like your general plan for the next few years. But then there's the long-term goal, which is the vision. Like, where do you want to be in 15 years? My advice would be this. I couldn't agree more, and I would add the following thing. Especially on a Masa program, and especially if you're doing an unpaid internship, I don't know if you're doing fast track or not, especially in an unpaid internship, you really want to do the following thing. I hope you see my screen. You want to really know what your long-term goal is. Where do you want to be in 10, 15 years? Israel, not Israel, which industry, which kind of a job? You don't have to commit. You don't have to, get there right now. Maybe you want to just deliberate on where you want to get to, but you do want to communicate what your aspirations are, maybe, because that's context to get to where you want. The second thing is midterm goal. No matter what you do, the internship is over. What are your plans for the next few years? And the short-term goals then are, what do you need from the internship period in order to get what you want for the midterm, which will put you on the path to the long term. So thinking in long-term goals and in short-term goals and midterm goals is very effective. If you're a business, that's how you write a business plan. Our vision, our plan of how to get there, and what do we need to do tomorrow. Now, the second thing I will say is this. The advice that that person gave you is a very, very good advice. Actually, if you go back to the post right here, just so I could refer you so you can read this later, and then I want to get to other questions. If you go here, there's a post that I wrote called Don't Look for a Job, BizDev. Meaning, don't ask for a job. Don't ask if they're hiring. Do what businesses do. Do business development and marketing and sales. So if you actually now make a top 10 list of people you want to be in 15 years and you reach out to them, there's a better chance they will answer you today than 3 months ago or 3 months from now. If there are top 10 companies you really want to work for, they may not hire right now. But now there's a better chance that you could communicate with them. So first, my advice would be make that list. Name of company, that's column A. Column A. Column B is, why do I want to work for them? If all salaries are the same and all the conditions are the same and reputation is the same, why them? Column C is why me? Why should they take someone like me? What's my unique added value? Where am I unique and valuable? And then you go to LinkedIn, you find the relevant people. You don't send a stupid blank connection request. You add a personal note. And you tell them, hi, we never met, but I've been following you for a while. I know that you do XYZ at company A. I love your customers. I had an idea that maybe could be relevant to you during these difficult times. I would be happy to discuss. And all you want is get the 5-minute phone call. And that allows you to start a relationship. Because now everybody is sitting at home and everybody is worried about the future. This is your time to build relationships.
Thank you.
Did this answer your question?
Very much so, yes, yes.
There's a lot of practical ways of how to do it. All of that is online. If you can't find that, shoot me a message on LinkedIn and I'll give you more.
Okay.
Who wants to ask a question? Related or totally unrelated? Anyone? Great. If you do have a question, please just burst in. Don't wait for me to ask if someone has a question. Here's the other thing I want to say. Can you share the link to the presentation? Oh, okay, I saw that message already. So another thing I want to add, a lot of people here are currently on a Masa program. And whether that's fast track or unpaid internship, for those of you who are in career programs, it's limited in time. And I want to add another thing to the discussion here, which really matters to you guys. And the alumni could testify because they did it a year or 2 years ago. If I go back to this post, best advice for your Israel internship, so I speak about long-term goals, midterm goal, and short-term goals. But there's another thing that you should really take into account, which is the following chart. For those of you who know my mentorship program with Masa participants and young Olim, so you know this one from our talks. This is basically your internship. And what you see right now, and Rochelle, I'm going to try to use the annotate thing here. I hope it works. Okay. So what you see right here is your 3-month, 4-month, 6 months internship. I don't know if right now you're on the first month, the last month, or in the middle. And the alumni again could testify, but the first month of your internship is much likely to feel like a liftoff. Everything's new, everything's fresh, you meet new people, it's a new office in a new country, in a new culture. So you learn a lot, and there's Masa, and there's the program, and the trip to Eilat, and all of that stuff that some of you had a few months ago. And you really finish that first month after Ulpan and the first month in the internship here when you're really, really tired. Let's switch to red. I need red. Here. So you're really, really tired. And then all you want is another day at the office. You just want to have some fun. You just want to, get to know more of the people. And you just want to enjoy the minute for a second because last month was really, really, tiring. And you think you're on a plateau, but actually you're starting to decay. And what happens is that you get here to the point that I call, this is the beginning of the last month. And this point is what I call the OSM, which stands for Oh Shit Moment. Some of you remember this from your internship a year ago as alumni. Some of you maybe are in it right now on top of Corona. Oh shit, my internship is about to end. I need to tell my boss that I want to stay and work here. I need to get another job in Israel. I need to get a job back home in LA or New York or Toronto. I need to get my visa papers approved. I need to sign up for the MBA for September. Everything is now and it's intense. I need to get an apartment in Tel Aviv. I need to evacuate my apartment from, Beit Leni or from the apartments from Destination Israel or others. And this is a very intensive month. And the issue here is, even if you don't fall into, it didn't work for me, and it's the program's fault, it's my boss's fault, I wanted to get a job here, and I thought they're going to give it to me, but they're not, or whatever. You're going to start blaming the universe, even if you're going to sit at home for 10 hours every day on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram or whatever, and try to get yours. It's only 1 month. Who are you to get what you want in 1 month, this specific month? Now, for you, Corona is maybe here, or here, or here, or here, or for the alumni, it could be here. My point is, if you're on a Masa program, you have to be aware of this graph. I want to clean this whole thing. Clear. Yeah. So you want to be aware of this graph. If Corona ends in May and you go back to the internship and you're starting to decay, you're going to lose your time. What Corona allows you to do is freeze time. Because many of you are doing virtual internships right now because you're not going to the office. And it's the best time in the world to do effective networking with other people and to better communicate and align your expectations with your employer. If you want to work for the place you intern at, you can't sit and expect. You have to communicate what you want to your employer. You have to do it in a thoughtful way, which I'll be happy to share, but you have to do it. You have to use this time to invest in the day after Corona, which is for you after the internship. I'm getting a question from the chat, so let's go over it. How do you think the job market will shift because of this pandemic towards more remote work, etc.? Are there any skill sets we should build to prepare for that? Thanks, Deborah, for the question. Deborah, where are you?
I'm here.
Is that you? Can you unmute yourselves or do I need to unmute you?
No, we can unmute ourselves.
Okay, great. So thank you for the question. Again, my opinion. I think a lot of people now are, they get excited about this remote work thing because it's the only way to work right now. I mean, in a normal world, we would have done this in person. So some people take it to the extreme. And, some people here know me from LinkedIn. So I actually joked about it that a lot of people, they share proudly their, screens like this one. We did a virtual meeting on Zoom, and I'm like, where were you? Zoom is like 10 years old. Startups work in Zoom all the time. So there's a big remote work hype right now. What will happen the day after Corona? I think much will go back to normal. We will use more virtual, but physical is not going anywhere. At the end of the day, I don't think you want to work from your bed all day. And I see around me a lot of people who proudly declare that they're shifting their entire business model strategically long-term for virtual. And I'm like, really? And what will you do the day after Corona? Insist on selling remote and doing remote consulting? So I think we need to zoom out from the here and now, where there's a lot of panic, which I understand. But exactly like I wrote here, and again, I couldn't say this enough. Breathe, and please don't make long-term strategic decisions based on short-term circumstances. Coronavirus is here and now. But I'm telling you, this cannot last for 3 months. We'll go back to work. This is not the new standard. It's a temporary crisis. In 2 years, you'll laugh about Corona. In 10 years, you'll not remember Corona. And in 50 years, you will really not remember Corona. But that will be because of your age. But what I'm trying to say here is don't make long-term strategic decisions based on short-term goals. If you want to stay in Israel, and now it's a shitty time to be right after a Masa program with rent in Tel Aviv or Jerusalem, looking for a job. If you want to stay in Israel, you want to plant the seeds right to position yourself for the day after Corona in Israel. Because this is your long-term ambition to build your life here. If your plan is to get into an MBA, maybe now's the time to go to the MBA. I don't know. But separate long-term from short-term. So to go back to your question, sorry for the long answer. I used it to share more of what I wrote here that I want to share with you guys. Where's the chat? Deborah. There will be more remote work, but not instead of physical work. Meaning, if you don't feel well in the post-corona world, maybe you'll be expected to give a few hours from home, which is what you want to do, and anyhow, and not take a full day off. Because people will understand that there's more than just 100% at work or 100% at home. There's also in the middle. But again, it's my opinion. Can I ask, why did you ask that question, Deborah?
Sure. So I was more thinking in terms of like, I guess on a strategy level, in terms of like how the job market will shift. So a lot of work is it going to move to not necessarily be like remote, but is a different skill set going to be necessary? So are we suddenly going to be seeing a lot more like customer service sorts of jobs, or like a skill set sort of thing, not necessarily like a short-term, long-term? I don't know.
Got it. Okay, great. So now I see what you mean. So I'm using it from here, yada, yada, yada. So what I think, first of all, a lot of people say a lot of things you probably don't need me to tell you. There's the whole idea of, the world of work is changing, jobs are disappearing, new ones will come out, half of the US workforce will be freelancers, the machines are going to get intelligent and kill us all and put us in the matrix, yada, yada, yada. I wanted to get to this. So this is the World Economic Forum, and they wrote recently that there's going to be a shift to a more skilled skill-based hiring system focused on lifelong learning. The skills, what the meaning of this is, so this is just me, showing my credibility, the World Economic Forum, not me. By the way, before that they wrote that for workers, there is an unquestionable need to take personal responsibility over career development, which is exactly, think like a business unit. Own your own career like a business. The punchline of this sentence here, which is why I wanted to get to here, the skill that you will need the most for the day after Corona is the same skill you should have acquired anyhow for the new world of work. But instead of 7 years, you're going to need it in 2 years because Corona is pushing that faster. And that skill is to adapt. I don't know to tell you. So a lot of people talk about soft skills, everything that is human interface, experience interface, everything that is technical and repetitive will become machines. People have been saying that for 10 years already almost. That's the new world of work. And Corona may, expand that. But what I'm trying to say is, so today they talk about, human skills X, Y, and Z. But tomorrow they'll talk about human skills A, B, and C. Instead of X, Y, and Z, they'll talk about A, B, and C. I don't know to tell you which skills you'll need for the future other than one skill, which is learning to adapt and teach yourself new skills. That's what businesses need. Your employer, I don't know if you work or you're doing an internship, your boss right now has no clue what they need for the day after Corona. They have no clue. They don't know exactly how the products are going to look like, how they're going to sell, is it going to be different. They have no idea. They were thrown out of Egypt, for those of you who read the post about the new world of work and the career exodus. They were thrown out of Egypt. We're now in the desert and we're trying to adapt. We were never taught to be Bedouins. So they have to adapt. Businesses have to adapt. It's natural selection, biology, it's nature. They have to adapt. If they don't adapt, they have no reason to exist. You are a business. You're Deborah Incorporated. You don't know what you're going to do. And again, that's what I advise you to think like. Me, Deborah, I don't know what I'm going to do, and I don't know how I'm going to do it. But I know why I want to do X, Y, and Z. Because I love these companies. Because I love those industries. Because I love those people in that company. Because I love these products. I have no idea what they need right now or what they will need in 2 years. But I have a way to create an emotional connection with them. These are your strategic customers. These are the companies you want to work for. You shortening a certain skill is a great value add to them. But you showing that you're committed to their long term is a better one if you ask me. So do both if you can. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, great. Thank you. I mean, I think as all Masa participants would say, adaptability we've got covered. So good to hear.
Yeah. Listen, you guys in a few years, they're going to bring you as alumni. And I don't know if Rochelle is still here. Operator, are you here? Over. Operator, this is control. Are you here? Okay, she's not here. Listen, they're going to bring you in a few years to talk to the new Masa people. And you're going to tell them, listen, guys, you're spoiled. We were back then in the Corona crisis. You have no idea what we faced. And if we did it, you can do it. And that's going to be your gateway to deliver messages, to sell, to promote something. So this is, if you ask me, in a way, it's an advantage maybe. Because this is only temporary. I mean, we will not be in this reality in 4 months, obviously. I see another question coming up on chat, so let me go through this. Will it be more difficult? Can you guys come and just burst in and ask me the question? Because it'll be better. So, Daniil, do I pronounce your name correctly? Daniil?
Yeah.
Great. Would you mind repeating the question for everyone?
Yeah, definitely. Wait a minute. Will it be more difficult to find a job because of the pandemic, because of the horrific number of unemployed workers? Because I'm kind of afraid that those who lost their job due to this pandemic would be seeking like a new job afterwards. So,
Great.
you know.
Great. So this goes back to don't look for a job, biz dev, that blog post. I am not against looking for jobs. Looking for jobs means let's go what people hire for and let's apply, which is why it becomes a numbers game. So when you apply for jobs, as you probably know, it's what I call spray the hill. You take a semi-automatic machine gun and you go all over the mountain. And eventually, by accident, you will hit something. But you have to go like that. So you need, if you saw the video on YouTube with Jared, who's an ex-Masa, he wanted to do it this way. He just sent between 100 and 150 applications. That's how he got a job. Most people I know send 15 and then they blame LinkedIn Jobs that it doesn't work. So I'm not against looking for a job. It's just, all I'm saying is when you manage a military offensive, don't just do snipe. So you could wait and look for jobs. You could look for jobs right now. You know, companies hire for remote work. Some of my customers hire right now for remote work. A better strategy would be, in my mind, which companies do you want to work for? You have no idea what they hire or don't hire or what they will hire the day after Corona. But now you have a unique time to build a relationship which will be your crack inside. What I mean by that is the following thing. When you find such a company, you find the relevant people on LinkedIn. Most likely those relevant people are not Michelle from HR, unless you want to work in HR. But if you want to work in the product department, maybe you need to reach the chief product officer. Connect with him on LinkedIn or her on LinkedIn. And don't tell them that you're looking for a job. Tell them that you love the new version of the product, but you found a typo, or you have an idea for something that could even be better, and you'd be happy to talk. Start with giving something, not expecting anything in return. Be a giver, as Adam Grant says. Hope you know Adam Grant because you had this already in this Masa environment. And then once you give the CTO something and you didn't expect anything in advance, you ask a question, you ask for an advice, whatever. And the thing is, Daniel, you never know. Maybe they're not hiring right now officially, but they're about to fire someone that they're not happy with, and you're already talking with the decision maker. You don't know. Maybe they plan to retrench and fire a lot of employees after Corona because they're going to shift the business model, and you don't even know about it yet. It's all unpublic yet. But you're building a relationship with a relevant person. So again, there are ways to communicate and build those relationships without focusing on what you need and what you want and you want a job. Building a relationship. The more you do that, the more you allow yourself to ask questions that reveal information. If you start a conversation with the CTO, you can start asking questions that will reveal to you information about what's happening inside the company. I did it today with someone from Masa. I do it all the time. It's called sales and business development and marketing. Once you reveal information, you uncover needs. Once you uncover needs, you can say, okay, I understand where the pains are. Where can I help them diminish the pain? And sometimes positions are created because relationships were formed. Not relationships were formed because someone hired someone. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate your discerning answer. Yeah, thank you.
So here's, again, I want to provide the context for the here and now. This is a very hard thing to do when you're on the internship in the office and you have the trip to the Negev and you are looking for a job and the CTO is very busy because it's Q2 of 2020. It's the big season before the summer. But we're in Corona now. People are sitting at home. They're busy with the kids. So, sometimes they reply even less. But then when they have time, they talk. And believe me, especially in this country, most of the action right now is on WhatsApp, is on LinkedIn, is on Facebook maybe, depends on the kind of companies you want to relate to and connect with. People now are checking their messages on LinkedIn. They reply to emails. That's the time to build relationships because a lot of other things they want to do, they wait for this Corona crisis thing to be over. So now's your time to build a relationship, and you never know. Maybe they're about to let Michelle go, and he didn't even go to HR to tell HR they want to fire Michelle and hire a new person, and they already have you in mind. That's marketing. So thinking like a business unit, if you're in marketing and business development as a consultant, that's what you will tell your customers they should do. Do it for yourself. So I hope this answers your question. And again, I'm using your questions to add more and get others to think. So I love the questions. Let's take another one. Benny Rubin.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Hey guys, stay positive. Great questions. Thanks, Assaf, for sharing great insights. Great post. Cheers. You went away. God damn it. Thanks, Benny, for being with us. Guys, connect to Benny Rubenstein. Daft Punk, you are. Moses, I love you. Daft Punk forever. Who else has a question? Okay, if you do, burst in. Another thing I want to add to the table. You know what? Let's use this right now. How many people here are either post-Masa alumni or really about to finish the program in the coming month? Maybe even 2 months, because it's Passover. How many people here are not on a Masa program within the next 2 months, meaning May 2020, you're post-Masa or post-Masa already? How many people here? So the rest of you are still participants? Okay, about to finish in 3 months. Okay, you still have time, Alex. 3 months meaning 1 month off because it's Passover. So if you go back to the chart, so lift off, you probably already had it. And the plateau is frozen right now. But once you'll go back, you'll have a little bit of plateau. And then there's the make or break. Finishing in, okay, alumni. Finishing early June. Finishing in 2 months. I'm about to finish in a month and a half, 1 month. Okay, a lot of people here are about to finish in a month. One word for Alex, and then I come back to you guys. If I bring this back again, because this is really important, even beyond Corona. This is so important for so many people, this thing. So again, Corona is basically messing up for most of you with this part. Some of you are in this part. My point is this. This, again, is what I call the oh shit moment. Because this is where you freak out and you go, I have only 1 month left. I need to get an apartment. I need to get a job. I need to talk to my parents. I need to, cancel my flight back. I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to talk to my boss and yada, yada, and the whole thing. And there's the leadership summit and who has time for that. And, it's a very packed month. My whole theory for Masa participants with thinking like a business unit is to bring this point as much as possible here. Because if you bring this here, it's not an oh shit moment, it's an oh shit moment. And then you're calm and you're not freaking out. Because freaking out sometimes paralyzes people. So the more you are able right now to understand with yourselves, where do you want to be in September? And forget about Corona. This will not be the reality in September. The better you could plan for it. You will not get that job offer next week, maybe not even next month, but you can get it in August. Because in August, a lot of the people who were hired and set on the payroll are now still out. And a lot of companies will not think, how do I hire for this position, which I used to have. A lot of companies will think, what do we need right now? Which people do we need in order to get this done? The more you think in terms of needs and addressing needs of your customers, the companies you want to work for, the more likely you are to be hired. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Great. So whether you're here or here or here or here or here, have your oh shit moment now. And then sit with yourself and say, okay, given the way I know myself today, what do I want for myself? I want a career in this industry or in that industry. I want to live in Israel, or I know I'm going to go back home. Long-term goals. Okay, so what do I want for next year? I want to work for this company because it's a good opportunity, or I really want to get into that industry because it puts me on the path to the long-term goal. Or I want to get this MBA done, or whatever that is, midterm goals. And then, what do I need right now in order to get to the midterm? This is basically, a business plan, an operation plan. My best advice is, once you have the top 10 people you want to connect with, and you understand your long, mid, and short, reach out to them, tell them about the typo, tell them you love the new version, give something, don't expect anything in return. Be Adam Grant, give or take, or Gary Vaynerchuk, jab, 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 right hook, whatever you want to call it. But then use the conversation to ask for advice. And ask Dan, Dan, it was great talking. Thank you for helping me share my idea with your product. Is it okay if I ask for your advice? Listen, you're a CTO at company blah, blah, blah. And, I'm a Masa participant who is interning at blah, 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 blah. And if I think to myself in 10 years, I want to be here, and in the next few years, I want to be there, what is your best advice for me? If I would want to come and work for companies like yours, what's the best way to get to you? For people like me that come from overseas and don't have Ivrit, but we do have capabilities like, marketing abroad and these things, where are we very valuable to companies like yours? Who do you think I should talk to? Ask those questions. So I hope this helps. Stuff I'm about to finish in a month and a half, 1 month, 2 months. Okay, great. More questions. Who here has a question?
Maybe one question.
Yes, Jackie.
Can you hear me?
I hear you
Yes.
loud and clear.
Okay, so thank you very much. I very much appreciate the way you explain it and this, but maybe I will take not the provocative, not the negative position, but
Please
let's
do,
say that I still want to. Do you think I very much like the way you think that we should think where we want to be in 10 years, in 5 years, where we want to be in terms of like a job, in terms of country, location. But let's say that the economic crisis after the virus crisis is over is very bad. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope to be wrong. But let's say, do you think
you're not wrong?
Yeah,
you weren't here in the beginning, right?
Okay, so yeah, of course. But for me, so it's very much about being resilient, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that there will be room for us to have let's say the possibility to choose where we want to be?
Yes.
Don't you think that we should very much work on ourselves to be more flexible and to try to accept things that we would not like think to be like? Do you see what I mean? I mean, for me, resilience is, and it's all the story of our people. Being resilient is very much being able to take position, to take jobs, to take decisions, which are very much away from what we were, predicting to be or willing to be.
Jackie.
Yeah.
Or should I say Jackie? How do you pronounce your name?
Jackie, French.
Jackie.
But in Israel we say Jackie, so it's okay.
Jackie.
Yeah.
Jackie Tishma.
Okay.
You are 100% correct. I don't know if you were here in the beginning, but I basically said what you said right now. The big crisis will only start once the corona crisis will be over. Because once
that's the reason for my question, actually.
I know. So yeah, that's how I actually started. Like the bad news is it's only going to get bad after the coronavirus. That's my opinion. When people will get the letter once they come back from halat, from unpaid leave, because businesses will need cycles to remake sales and all that. Here's my reply to your question. Sorry, let me turn this off. Yeah. Here's my answer to your question. Thinking like a business, obviously, if we own a company, we need to know what our vision is. If we're a startup, it starts with the vision. We need to communicate our vision, right? But if we run a business, we also need to know what do we sell tomorrow. Because with all the respect to the 10-year vision and we want to change the world through our amazing SaaS product, we need to sell tomorrow. So businesses tend to separate between long-term, midterm, and short-term. I absolutely agree that all of you, for those of you who want to build your life in Israel, even if it's not forever, just for a few years, building your life, establishing your life in a new place is hard. For me to move to Cincinnati tomorrow, even though I know people in Cincinnati, it's going to be hard. So it's hard enough. It's a long-term goal, which you may achieve in the midterm, but it's a long-term goal, establishing your life in Israel. And if that is part of your long-term ambition, then you can separate the long-term from the short-term. Here's what I mean by that. I once had someone coming to me, I'm going to blur the specifics, not to reveal names, of course, but it's a true case. And someone came to me and told me, Assaf, I really want to be in, the entertainment industry in Israel. Again, I'm making up, but the example is real, just different details. I really want a career in entertainment, and I really want to live in Israel. And I've been trying so hard to get into the entertainment industry in Israel, which is, of course, Hebrew-based mostly. And it's a small industry, and everybody knows everybody. And I feel like I'm trying to enter a cult, and it's so hard. And I feel like I was being even discriminated against, and then yada, yada, and the whole thing. And at some point, I told that person, listen, I totally agree with you. But you want to move to Israel and build a career in entertainment, and you want it now. You don't get to get all of this now. If I move to Cincinnati, I want to live there, and I want to do exactly what I do right now, and I want to do it right now. That's not how it works. I'm going to have to compromise. Separate the short term from the long term. If you move to Israel and you know you want a career in entertainment, you could spend 5 years working in other places, being unique and valuable, just like the video in the post talks about. So you could make a name for yourself, you could churn skills, you could develop, and then you will have an income that will be the safety net that will allow you to invest the time in building your reputation in the entertainment business. 2 people moved to Israel. Jackie, who wants to be in entertainment and is going to everyone in entertainment right now and wants to do it right now. And maybe that Jackie will succeed and maybe not. The other Jackie is trying, but if it doesn't work, he takes another job and he survives enough so that when the opportunity arises, he's there to take it. So when you run a business, you have a long-term ambition, but you also need to react to circumstances. You're not diverting from your plan when you go to work in a different industry for 2 years. If it allows you to buy the time and the oxygen and you make money, so the safety net to invest in getting there. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes perfect sense. Fair enough.
A lot of people come to me and they want my advice because they feel like they're giving their dream away because they wanted to move to Israel and be in industry A, and they're going to take a job in industry B. And I'm like, that's it's okay. It's not a bad thing. First of all, you may discover things you didn't know. Second of all, moving to Israel is part of the long-term ambition. Third of all, you working in the bank or you working in this company that imports steel from Latin America and you only work there because you speak Spanish and you can help, will give you the salary to pay rent, which will give you the time at night to go to the relevant meetup, to connect to the relevant people and build your reputation in where you do want to be in the end of the day. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect sense.
I would be happy to take another question. If no, there's something else I want to add given what Jackie just said, which is super relevant for a lot of the alumni here. Anybody has a question? Okay, so I want to share something that is also very relevant for many of you, which is over, hold on. Come on, internet. There we go. For the alumni here, who are maybe, hope you can see my screen. For the alumni here who are maybe working, but they want to switch jobs, or they're freelancing, or they're looking for a job. This is a post called In Defense of Clark Kent. So again, it's all here. I'm not going to get poetic, but Superman and Clark Kent, great analogy from Kill Bill. I don't know if you even remember the show Lois and Clark, which is about, you know, Superman's daily life. But the punchline of the post is this. If you prepared for this video conference, that you should know about the shared zone and the 3 circles, which is what we're all looking for. You know, combine my passion with my competitive advantage and my skills, and with an economic drive that allows me to maximize wealth. That's what we all want. That's the pursuit of happiness. That's the hedgehog concept. Now, what I say is the following thing. If you're Superman or Superwoman, and your dream is to go with your underpants all over, you know, above your pants and save kitties and put down fires all day, that's a great vision. I'm up for that. The problem is, if Superman wants to be full-time Superman, Superman will be poor, because no one will pay Superman to do this job. The police is doing this job. The fire department is doing this job. Superman is literally, you know, harassing them, bothering them, doing their work. So they're not going to like him. That's not a good strategy. So following your passion all the way through is not always the best thing to do. And for many of you, you could separate, just like here, between, let's use the annotation here. So looking at this, you can find a job, Jackie, that combines your competitive advantage, say your French, not just language French. You know French culture. You know how to sell in France. You know when to send the email. You know how to write the email. You know how to talk on the phone. You know how to behave in a meeting in Paris. Israelis don't. You have competitive advantages that are clearly yours. Danny Cohen from Israel doesn't have them, without me even knowing you personally, just knowing that you come from there. Any company in Israel that is trying to do business in France could use you. Doesn't mean they'll hire you tomorrow, but you are valuable to them. So you could combine your competitive advantages, your French culture is one of them, with someone who could use you right now, and it's not connected to your passion. But if you look from above, you can combine all 3, just not in the same dimension. What I mean by that is, you could work in a place that imports toys from France to Israel. I don't know, I'm making it up. You're making a salary, you're doing a good job, you're okay with the office, but it's not your career. It's just a job. You're not diverting from your career when you take a job that is not in the path of your career. It's part of what I talk about in the speaking engagement. There's no direct correlation between your job and your career anymore. So you could be there, but use the extra time to develop a side hustle, to go to the conferences in the industries you want to be in, to connect to the relevant people and take coffee meetings, which when you're in pressure, it's a waste of time. When you have the time, it's a great investment. Do proper networking like some of the people here that I know, where's Moises? Like some of the people here know how to do. It's life experience. When you're getting a salary, you can do that. When you sit at home unemployed and you want the job of your life tomorrow, you can't do it. So for many people here, it's okay to maximize your competitive advantage with the economic drive for the short and midterm, and that will allow you to invest in what you want as your passion in your career for the long term. Does that make sense?
Yes, very much.
For all of you, I'm speaking like in headlines. Again, I said in the beginning, I'm speaking in headlines because I don't want to prove, I want to talk in headlines so you could go and read it so I don't waste time explaining that more. Because it's really, a lot of it is out there. So it's in the YouTube videos, it's in the blog posts. So that's the Clark Kent Superman one. You can call it side hustle, or you develop a hobby that you want to make money from one day because you're an artist, but you will not work as an artist right now when you're an Ole Hadash. It's not diverting from your career when you do something for the short term in order to allow yourself to invest in the long term. Okay, back to the chat.
I have a
We're
question.
not that old. Moises Zach, come on, Moises. Old is a state of mind, not a biological thing. You're not old. I'm older than you in some ways. Jackie, thanks, Assaf. Guys, feel free to burst in.
I have a question.
Yes, May, thank you for bursting in.
Thank you. So you said that making Aliyah is a long-term goal.
Depends, for many people, not necessarily for everyone. But yes, go on.
Yeah, definitely. For me, yeah, because I don't speak Hebrew. So right now I'm in the moment in breaking point, like you said, that should I make Aliyah? Should I go back? And it's just, obviously it's a decision I have to make for myself, but I want to ask you, if you're coming with no Hebrew, just you want to live here because you did Masa, you really want to make it here, how of a long term goal are we talking about? Like how long it usually takes to getting your feet with the Hebrew, with everything, and just starting a life? Because I think that for me it will be something that probably would take 3 to 4 years, or I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
Getting your Hebrew to a level that is good enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you think that if I want to do that, I should like immerse myself in Hebrew for the first year, get that done, and start my life, or what? I was not in the first part of the talk, so I lost a lot of information. But I don't know. I just want to hear from your experience how long this process could be.
So again, my position is so I should have said this also in the beginning. Guys, I'm not a coach, and I'm not a mentor, and I'm not an Aliyah advisor. I'm not Nefesh B'Nefesh. I'm not Vahim. I'm not, Masa community director, and I'm not, Misrad HaKlita, the Ministry of Immigration. I am a Bedouin in the desert. I'm a Bedouin in the desert, working with many other Bedouins. So the insights that I bring is what I see in the trenches in real life. That's where I bring the answers from. That's the entire philosophy of how I operate. I'm trying to be the older brother, not the expert. So my answer to you is in twofold. Should you immerse yourself in Hebrew if you want to live here? Yes. Is that crucial in order for you to set your career path in Israel? No. Are you still with me, May?
Yeah, I'm listening. Yeah.
Great. Now, I want to tell you what I mean.
Okay.
Again, I'm referring you to things that are online. So in my YouTube channel, you could see this. People you should learn from, not because they're so smart, just because they were you. Years ago, they did it without Hebrew. So forget about me. I'm from here. Here are Masa alumni who did it with no Hebrew. So Natalia, well, her story unfolded differently, but she had no Hebrew and she were able to get a job in Israel when she was already not in Israel. Rachel Cass, well, okay, so specifically her story was a little bit different, but she got a job in Israel with no Hebrew. Jared here got a job in Israel with no Hebrew. They did it, they work in Israel. I mean, now it's the Corona crisis, but they did it with no Hebrew. If they did it, you could do it. So, you know, watch the video, they share the tips, not me. I just interview them.
And do you think that you should start your life when you make Aliyah in the city you want to live, or you can?
So again, personal aspects, I don't know how to answer because I don't know you personally. I'm happy if you want to share, and I'll, you know, think together with you. What I know to say is the following thing. And again, what I'm trying to do here is get you guys to think businessy when it comes to your careers. So in the post, the Don't Miss Your Corona Opportunity, I refer to a video, and I'll give you just the punchline. The video on the post says the following thing. Where's the shared screen again? Share this. Okay. So some of you who watch, you know, Guy Kawasaki on YouTube like me, you know, they know the 2x2 matrix. Who here doesn't know what a 2x2 matrix is? Who wants me to explain this in 1 minute just to make sure we understand? Or
I don't know.
Okay, great. So let's do it. 2x2 matrix, the joke is that, you know, consulting firms, that's 90% of what they do. They take an XY chart, they divide it into 4, and then all they do is show you how you want to be in the upper right corner. That's the joke. That's how Guy Kawasaki jokes about it. And I love him, so I use his jokes as well. So let's take an XY chart. Can you see my screen? No, I don't know if you can see that. Let me share screen again. Okay. Now you see my screen. So let's take an XY chart. Can you see the animation? Please just tell me if you see the animation or not.
Yes, we do.
Ah, okay, great. So we take an XY chart, we put unique over here and valuable over here, and we divide it into 4. Now it's a very known business analysis that says the following thing. If you're doing something that is low, let's take the annotate here. Annotate, yeah. If you're doing something that is low on value, meaning close to 0 on value, but is very unique, you're in the no market zone, meaning there's something that is very unique about you, May, as a candidate or as an employee or as a team member or a service provider or whatever, but it brings no value to no one. So maybe you're a great ballet dancer, but nobody cares. So you have no market as a ballet dancer in Israel. So that's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it, obviously, if you're doing something that is not unique and not valuable, then you're in what Guy Kawasaki calls the bozo zone. I don't think I need to explain that. Here's the trick. When you're doing something that is high on value, you have a certain skill, you learned a certain profession, you did an internship where you learned a certain trait like business development or online marketing, or you did PPC campaigns or whatever that is. It's high on value, but it is not unique. Then you are doomed to compete on price. If you're a consulting company and you're doing something valuable but not unique, you will be able to charge only so much. If you are a candidate that has specific skills that are valuable and are not unique, you could only sell so much, meaning your price will be lower, meaning your salary capacity, your earning capacity will be lower. PPC campaign managers used to earn X 7 years ago, and today they earn Y. Why? Because it's less unique. A lot of people know how to do it today. When you move to Israel, and here I connect this to you. When you move to Israel, basically what happens is, now, exit this, right. So you want to be unique, added value, high unique. So when you move to Israel and you're trying to get a job, you usually think about your education, your skills, your experience, your network. These bring you to the valuable side, but they're not going to turn you into unique yet. What will make you unique is your personality, your global perspective, because you're not an Israeli. So you could be a designer that gets a designer job in Israel. But as a designer, in the Israeli company, you can help the marketing department that sells in your home country, in addition to your design work. So cultural skills, global perspective, your international network, your dad's friend's cousin's neighbor is a potential customer to your company. Go-to-market capabilities, because you can take the website in English that is clearly just a translation from Hebrew. And Moises here can tell you that some website in English he could tell that are fit for market, and some websites in English he could clearly tell that it's just a mirror of the Hebrew website. And the English is great, but the website will never work. Is Moises still here? You can confirm or so language is not just, or your language is not just a language, it's the culture. These things can turn you into unique and valuable. And then you have a better chance of getting the job than the average Danny Cohen.
Okay, thank you.
So you have the YouTubes on video. I interview people to show how they did it. That's number one. And I write about practical tips on how to do it. My best tip is make a list of the people you really want to reach out to, study them, do market research on your customers, and reach out to them in a thoughtful way. If we had time for a marketing session, I would show you literally how to do it. If we had time for a LinkedIn session, I would show you on LinkedIn how to do it, because LinkedIn is the conference, is where things happen right now. Used to be also before Corona, but now definitely LinkedIn.
Thank you so much.
With pleasure. Did this answer your question, or is something else still?
No, it answered it. Thank you so much.
Alex wanted to say something, and Moises confirmed on the chat. Thank you, Moises.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify one thing. You said in the conversations that we hold with prospective employers that the rhetoric should be along the lines of speaking about what the company does, what it's like to work there, where they see the trajectory in the marketplace, and et cetera. Not go straight to is it fair to be honest and say I'm going to be done with my Masa program in a month or 2 or 3? And I mean, what's the balance there? How do we approach these people?
So if I were Adam Grant, I would say be a giver. If I were Simon Sinek, I would connect this to start with why. And if I were Gary Vee, I would have said empathy. So they all talk about the same things. These are my heroes. What I would say is, it's the same thing, just with a different analogy. I would say you have to do the John Malkovich trick. If you are them and you're busy and you need to fire employees right now and you don't know where the company is going and you may be looking for the next job yourself, and this douchebag Alice Schlesinger, comes down on LinkedIn, what will make you reply to that Alex? You have to think like that when you refer him as Alex.
Okay.
Now, I don't have a one-trick pony answer. It depends on the industry, it depends on the people, depends on your personality. In some industries, you want to come and say, listen, I'm looking for a job, whatever. Most industries are not like that.
Okay.
You know what? I never encountered an industry or a company where my advice would be, based on my experience, to just go and say, I'm looking to work for you guys. It's always better to build relationships.
Okay. So
you do want to be honest, though. You do want to be honest, though. So hold on for a second. You do want to be honest. So you want to find the right way to get their attention. Tactically, stop sending bullcrap, empty LinkedIn connection requests. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. How many people here are not on LinkedIn? Be honest. At all. Please burst in and say, yes, Assaf, I'm not on LinkedIn and I'm not shy about it.
I am, but I haven't updated.
Thank you for being honest. Who else?
Very long time.
Guys, LinkedIn is where it's happening. People have 99 plus unread messages on Facebook, but they check many of their LinkedIn stuff. They're not going through the feed, but it's a great way to get to people today. You want to be there. Not because I love it and I love it. I don't have any interest here, because it works better for you and I want you to get yours. So you go to LinkedIn, don't send a blank connection request, add a context on the personal note. The context has to be about them, not you. You love their product, but you thought of a great idea for their marketing. or you had an idea for a new feature, or you saw in the recent newsletter they had a typo, or in their website they wrote something and it was not clear, or you saw that they work in your home country, I don't know where you're from, Alex, and blah, 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 whatever, personal context. The personal context has to be with you and has to be with that person. So if you're referring to the CTO, talk about the product. You refer to the chief of marketing, talk about the marketing. Once you have that conversation and, say what you wanted to say, that's why they reply to you. So, be thoughtful. But then my best advice is to ask for advice and say, Danny, with pleasure. I really like you as a company. I've been following you for a while. We have 2 minutes left for our call. Would it be okay if I ask for advice? So my name is Alex, and I came to Israel because of blah, 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 and I'm doing this thing called Masa, which is an internship that works XYZ, and it's about to end in a month. And my plan is to stay in Israel because I'm doing an aliyah or not, or whatever. And if you ask me where I really want to work, it's with companies in your industry. And I started looking a little bit, and now with Corona more, because I'm thinking about the day after, but I think I don't do it in a smart way. What do you think is the best way for me to get to work with companies like yours? Where do you meet people like me? Are you with me, Alex?
I'm with you. You said the last thing you said was, where do you meet people like me, or where do you need people like me?
Someone like me wanting to work for a company like yours, say your competition. Where do you think Danny Cohen, who I just helped and is now on the phone with me, where do you think I could be useful for companies like yours?
Okay.
It's very important from my experience to use that phrase for companies such as yours. Because when you don't ask Danny to hire you, you take the pressure off the table. It's just a sales tactic. And again, we have people here, Moises again, he can testify. When you sell, you ask someone to buy you or your product. When you ask, you go lean forward. The other person emotionally, they lean backward. You ask someone to hire you. Are you hiring? I want to work for you. I'm looking for a job. No, we're not hiring right now. Please send me the email, refer to HR. They go defense. But if you ask their advice and you ask them, what is the best way for someone like you to get an opportunity with a company like them? Part-time, full-time? Should you look for both? Should you look for a paid internship? Or maybe you should look for a freelancer position. What's the best way to work for them? Because you don't get to say how it will be done, and you don't get to say what you'll do for them. You only get to say why you want to work for companies like them. And that will be the reason they will want you, because you connect to their why. That's the Simon Sinek. When you do it that way, there's no pressure on Danny Cohen, so he doesn't go defense. So he can lean forward. And then 2 things will happen. And then I want to move to the next question. 1 out of 100, he will say, you know what? It's so funny. We're looking for someone like you. 1 in 100. 99 out of 100, he'll say, listen, I have nothing for you right now. But you know what? Here's my advice. I think if you go to our competition, you should tell them X, Y, Z. And you should do it in a way that is A, B, C. And then you thank them a lot, and you take their advice, and you move on. And you try their advice. And 80% will not work, and 20% will work. And then you come back to them and you tell them after 2 weeks, hi, Danny, hope you are all well. I wanted to happily tell you that blah, blah, blah happened thanks to your advice, the 20% that don't really matter much. But you're so excited to tell them that their advice worked a little bit. But then you're going to add the second part that says, but with regards to the second part of your advice, I admit I tried it and it didn't really work. Maybe I didn't understand you correctly. When you said to do blah, 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 did you mean this way or that way? Sincerely yours, Alex. Now, Alex just gave you an advice. Some of it worked, but some of it didn't. Doesn't feel good to give an advice that doesn't work. There's a higher chance he will reply to you. But you're leaning forward, you're making him lean. You're leaning backwards, you're making him lean forward into you. You're dragging him into your world. When you do it 2-3 times, what I came to learn, on the 3rd time, if the advice doesn't really work, Danny will say, this Alex, I need to talk. Didn't Moises, my friend, told me he's looking for someone? Hey, Moises, didn't you tell me you're looking for someone that blah, blah, blah? I'm sending you a CV of someone I met called Alex. See what I'm talking about? Emotionally, unconsciously, they start working for you. it's another reason why to ask for the advice.
Yeah, thank you. Makes sense.
Yes, someone wanted to ask a question and didn't get a chance. I saw someone coming up. Okay, let's go to the chat. Some stuff on the chat. LOL confirmed. Same. Hey, Jackie. Also, people in Israel are generally happy to help new immigrants. Like, you have no idea. You want to come out with
I know. I actually know because I experienced what you just said, actually. But unfortunately, it was just before the crisis. And then, but it's okay. Just one question, one last question,
Sure.
maybe. As a new immigrant, עולה חדש, אני עולה חדש, what I'm always like very much keen to hear about the job market, how it works here. I mean, culture-wise. I mean, what's the Israeli culture in hiring people? Not in looking for a job, but more on the hiring side.
Meaning in the hiring process?
Yeah, not just the process, but you know what they are more looking at when they are looking at new people. And maybe the following part of the question is, if you can give us maybe one or two bullet points of example of culture, Israeli culture on the hiring side, and how do you think this crisis will affect the culture on the hiring part? Do you see some examples where it will shift after the?
Yeah. So what I said about reaching out to the decision makers is related to culture. Because if you get Danny Cohen, the CTO, to want to hire you, Danny Cohen will go to Michelle from HR and tell her, listen, I want to fire Michal because, I'm sick of her already. Let's start the process. And I already have someone I want to hire instead of her. There's this guy, Jackie. And that's what you want to happen. And you have an agent from the inside. So it's in a way a cultural thing, an Israeli thing, which is coming through the window, not through the door, which relates to the entrepreneurial Israeli approach. You see people applying online, you get to the decision maker. In Israel, some people call it kombina, some people call it be creative. It's the way it works here. You want to look for shortcuts. But in business, it's a very good trait. It means you're creative. It means you know how to sell. It means you know how to build relationships. The best way to sell is to make the other person want to buy. So I don't see it as, cut through and shortcut. That's the way it should be because we're human beings. Now, I know in some cultures, otherwise, it's different. With relates to Israel, so if I asked you how's the hiring culture in France, you will tell me, stuff depends. BNP Paribas are very different than the grocery store in my neighborhood. So it's the same here. It has to do with the industry you're tapping into and the industry culture. It also has to do with the environment, meaning you're an Ole from France. You're reaching out to people that moved here from France 10 years ago and asking their advice. What is their best advice for you? They will see themselves in you. They'll really want to give you a good advice, especially in the French mafia community. Take advantage. Use it. Think
yeah,
like
of course
business.
I do,
Yes.
but it's always better to be broader than just the.
So go to the CEO of Urban Place, the co-working of the French mafia, and if you can get someone from management to tell you what is their best advice for you to get a job in Banca Poalim because you're in finance. See what I'm saying? Use them to get to places that are not necessarily their industry.
Right.
And other people should do the same. LinkedIn. Which people do I know in my vast second and third connection degree that are from my town in the US and are here in Israel? If they made Aliyah 10 years ago, maybe they'll see they'll see themselves in me. Oh, so interesting. Michelle moved from Cincinnati to Israel 7 years ago and she works in this company. And then it happens to know that she knows the cousin of your mom. And it's business. At the end of the day, business is not organizations, it's people. So, use that. So that connects to culture. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. But actually, maybe you can confirm it because you know the Israeli culture more than me, I'm sure. But since I came, I spoke with the French mafia in my field. And I very much, a lot of time I heard that generally speaking.
French mafia, I love you guys. We just use this name because we love you. Yeah, go on.
I love it too. But actually, to be honest, I have a lot of time. I got the feedback that in Israeli companies they prefer to hire people like candidates who are already in place in a job than people who are looking for a job but not being hired already. You see, and see with this like new crisis, it must change. It will change. I guess. I hope so.
Okay. So the cultural difference, okay, I'm going to say something that is true all over the world because many of you are going to also work in other places around the world. Maybe me too, who knows? So I'm going to say something that is universal, but the cultural context is related to Israel. Israel is in no shame, in your face culture. So in France, for those of you who don't know Western Europe, in Western Europe, when someone tells you, listen, this is very interesting, you know, I would be happy to look into it. Let's be in touch, you know, sometime in the near future. Israelis would hear such a response and will say, yes, progress. But anyone from London will say, okay, sounds very interesting. I would be happy to learn more in the near future. Let's be in touch means I will never do business with you. It's a nice way of saying no. So that's a cultural difference. In Israel, it's in your face. In Israel, people will tell you, listen, this is a bad idea. In the US, people say, you know, it's a very interesting idea. It's a cultural difference. But here's the universal truth, Jackie and everybody else. From my understanding, and it's not an ultimate truth, but it's a big numbers truth. Many times when you see a position in a big company, if you see the position published, the position is already filled. They already have the person they wanted to hire. Companies, you know, they think in like two levels. One, hiring, and the higher level is talent acquisition. When we see a talent that we want to bring to the team, we will create a position for them. When we want to let someone go, we don't want to hire someone new. We want to bring in a talent. And we want to do that process offline, you know, behind the scenes. And the way sometimes it works is this. Let's say Michelle works for Microsoft. Be with me for 1 minute. How many people here have to go? Because I need to respect your time. I'm willing to stay. If you have to go, it's super fine. Jackie, I want to answer your question and then answer other questions. I still have more time. Operator, this is control. I don't know if you're here. Rochelle, this is Assaf. If we need to finish, let me know. Rochelle is from Assaf. Moises, yes, experienced. I have actually already talked. Great. So imagine, are you with me, Jackie? Jackie? Jackie?
Yes, I am.
Great.
Sorry.
Just wanted to check. Great. Not now. Great. So imagine there's Michelle from Microsoft, and Microsoft are not happy with her. And there's, I don't know, Danny from Google that wants to switch and move to Microsoft for some reason. Let's say that Danny went on LinkedIn and connected with the relevant people, and he got to Michelle's boss. And he added value, he built a relationship, they got more intimate, he asked for advice, you know, if I want to move to Microsoft, which position should I look for? Like, it's not obvious, you know, that he wants to be in this department. It's just like, you know, when you go to a pub and you want to hit on someone, you're not very blunt. You're being thoughtful and nice. So they have that conversation. Michelle's boss then goes to HR and says, listen, Michelle has been slacking off for the past year. It's about time. She's tired. She also wants to move on. I have an idea. I have someone to replace her. Let's talk to Danny secretly about moving from Google to Microsoft. Then they sit for coffee somewhere not near the office. They come to an agreement. Then Danny is not quitting Google yet, but they shake hands on it. And then Michelle's boss is going to Michelle, lets her go, gives her the 2 weeks notice or month notice, and then Danny quits Google and comes for Microsoft. And then Microsoft publishes, they publish a position, and 10,000 people apply within the first 48 hours. You know how much candidates will they look at? maybe 5. But it's a done deal. Danny is already taking that position. This is happening in many big companies universally because it's talent acquisition. In small companies, the CEO wants to hire this person, so they will hire this person because it's, you know, the CEO's decision. It's his or her company. It's always emotional. It's always about the relationship. And again, these times where the economy globally basically is frozen is the best time to build relationships. Guys, please use this window of opportunity.
So why they post a job on the internet?
Because in big
Like a
companies,
legal thing? They have to, okay. It's a legal thing.
We want to hire Danny, so let's take Danny. It's an open position. You know, they need due process. And if they will see a good talent, they will bring him to an interview or her. But they only fired Michelle because they knew Danny is going to quit for them. It's talent acquisition. It's headhunting. The more you think of yourself as talents and you understand who do you want to sell to that also needs someone like you a lot. So where do I want to work and what do they need from someone like me? And you come through that crack, maybe there is no position for what you're going to do. No CEO ever looks for a personal, you know, chief of staff or, you know, a personal advisor, you know, chief advisor to the CEO. You know, these positions are based on trust. So build trust, build a relationship. Now you have the time to do it. People last year on Masa, they were doing it throughout the internship and people don't reply as much because there's no corona crisis and people are at work. Now people sit at home.
Okay, thank you.
Does that make sense for the rest of you? I hope it does. Okay, we have to wrap up. Guys, I wanted to tell you that, first of all, thank you for making the time. I really hope I was able to add value and contribute. I know I spoke with the headlines, at least in the beginning. It's because a lot of what I talk about is written online. It's in the videos online. So I wanted to get more done so you could go and get this later. If you don't find what you're looking for, please reach out to me on LinkedIn or any other place. If you want to ask more questions, I am swamped and I'm trying to help as many people I can, but please reach out. I try to reply to anyone within 3 business days, anyone. If there are questions you didn't ask because you felt you need some more intimacy and you don't want to do it on, you know, video in front of everybody else, please reach out to me. I am here to help. And I meant everything I said. This is the time to build relationships for your long-term goals. You will not remember Corona crisis in 10 years. You will remember what you did during Corona crisis in 10 years, because it could be what allowed you to become where you are in 10 years. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I love you.